Right now, it is my pleasure to turn the podium over to the design team, starting with Will Purvis. He's the principal of Hayes Barton Place and Liberty Senior Living. Well, got that wrong. Sorry, Will. The principal of Liberty Senior Living, and he will kick us off. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Donna. Appreciate all of y'all being here today. My name is Will Purvis. I'm the president of Liberty Senior Living. Liberty is a family-owned, operated company. This is up on the screen. You'll see many members of the team, and hard to believe, but this isn't everyone. You're going to hear today from our architect, LS3P. Chris Boney's here. They've worked with us on several projects like Hayes Barton Place, and then Frank Liggett, who's the landscape architect, along with Withers and Ravenel. You'll be hearing from him as well. So on the screen here is 4 projects that Liberty's recently completed and that we're operating that are similar in scope and scale to Hayes Barton Place. First one is the first one of these projects that we communities that we've developed. It's Carolina Bay at Autumn Hall, which is in Wilmington. It's a life plan community. It has independent living and a healthcare center with assisted living, memory care, and skilled nursing. The next one that we did was South Bay at Mount Pleasant, just outside of Charleston. We opened that community about 3 years ago, was the final CO there. The next one is Templeton of Cary. That's a community we finished in July of last year. So we just opened that one, and then finally as the Barclay at South Park, we just opened that community in January. So those are, these are communities that we build and run. We've we have others that we own and run, but these are very similar products to what we're building here. Next, I'm going to turn it over to Sandy McNeil, who's going to talk a little bit about the history of Liberty Senior Living, but also Liberty Healthcare Group, which is our parent company.
Thank you, Will. I'm Sandy McNeil. My brother Ronald McNeil, who was up on the slide there earlier, was not able to be here today. He had a family emergency. He would like to have been here and extends his welcome to everyone. We are a pharmacy family from Whiteville, North Carolina. Started business in 1875 in Charlotte, and they moved up to Whiteville and opened that drugstore around 1900. And I'm a pharmacist, went to Chapel Hill, and my sister did. And so we branched out. I started branching out about 50 years ago from pharmacy into medical equipment, and then as years went by, we got into all the other facets of post-acute care. So we have a fairly large company now that operates from Wilmington, North Carolina, with about 40-some locations, 45 locations around North and South Carolina that we have assisted living, independent living, nursing homes, home care, hospices, pharmacies, medical equipment businesses, and other associated businesses to our overall company. But we came from the healthcare world. We live in the healthcare world, but we saw an opportunity to get into independent living, and that be a very, and carry on in the world of independent living, all the services that we have when they're necessary, but not have them there if you don't need them. So as time came on, Will came on board and married my daughter, one of my daughters, and said, "Gee, why don't you build some more of these projects?" And I said, "That's a great idea. Why don't you go do that, Will?" And so he did. And so I'm here to support them. They have the senior living group is a part of our overall company. All of our services work together. We, as I've said again, we own our own company. We're a family business in North Carolina. All the family members are involved in it. We have no exit plan. We have no plan like that. When I pass on, then one of them takes over, and that's our plan. So we plan to always be here and continue to serve our state with healthcare needs and other senior services needs. Anyway, it's a pleasure to be here today. Thank all of you for coming. I just want to assure you that the people that are behind this are real people that live in North Carolina that are involved with the business and will always be here. Thank you.
So of all the projects that we've done in the or communities that we've done in the past 12 years, this one's very exciting for me personally. When my wife and I moved to Wilmington 12 years ago, we lived right across the street at 2421 Glenwood. As a kid, my grandmother's house was on the corner of Woodland and Fairview across from the Methodist Church. So I grew up riding my skateboard down to the Piggly Wiggly. And I got very fond memories of the time I spent here doing that. I have been talking with Gordon Grubb about this site since I left Raleigh to come and work with Liberty 12 years ago. I was in commercial mortgage banking, finance and properties with Gordon about the time that he bought this site. So him and his partners, Tim Clancy and his brother and the Williams are true partners with us on this. We're very excited to be working with them, to be integrating into their mixed-use community. So, and with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chris Boney with LS3P, who's going to talk through some of the architectural elements.
Thank you, Will. Good morning, everyone. My name is Chris Boney. I'm another Wilmington person along with Will and Sandy. And I, too, come from a family business. My grandfather was an architect. He started our firm in 1922 in Wilmington. And my father and brother and all of us are in it. So we know about family businesses. And when Sandy talks about his family, it is true. It's a family affair, and they hold things close, and they're a great group to work with. But also, they hold all their properties, for forever, and they treat everybody like a family. So they're great folks to work with. I also would just note before I get started that I'm wearing my NC State tie today. So if anybody watched the baseball game last night, if anybody went to state, then we're celebrating today. Go Pack! I went to NC State for to the School of Design back in the early 90s, and then to UVA for my master's degree, and then came home to the family company and had the privilege of beginning work with Sandy and Will and their family about 8 years ago when we did the Carolina Bay project in Wilmington, which is now where my mother lives, as well as my in-laws. So I've learned what I did wrong. They will let me know, and they do. So hopefully we've learned from all those mistakes on this, which was really so exciting for me, because this is about the 10th project we worked on, Will, and this one really is sort of the culmination of all the things we've learned over that time. It's also very near and dear to all of us because, as Will mentioned, it's a site that we all know really well, and Raleigh's a place that we all consider at least a second home, if not a first home, speaking for the design team. So we're glad to be here. So the architecture of Hayes Barton Place has evolved over time. Any good architect needs to look at their surroundings and understand them and learn from them, and that's what we've tried to do with Hayes Barton Place. We spent a lot of time looking around Raleigh and the Triangle and at buildings that inspire us and buildings that we believe are timeless and that can help us to understand the essence of what an authentic architecture of this place would be. These are some of the buildings that come to mind as we moved around the Triangle. And three that I'd highlight for today are the Carolina Inn, the building we're in today, and the Shirley Plantation, which is, of course, is not in the Triangle, but is a great example of early colonial architecture. So let's talk about that for a moment. The Shirley Plantation, again, a lot of these early colonial buildings, were designed in a similar manner, but they were mainly built really well. A lot of the details, the pieces that you pick up on this architecture, or the Flemish bond pattern predominantly, the water tables that they incorporated into the design, They're really well proportioned window placement. Everything is very thoughtful and well done. Jack arches over the windows instead of kind of cheap builder arches. So we try to take a lot of these things and details into consideration as we develop the architecture. The building we're in today, the Carolina Country Club, of course, is not a historic building by any means, but it is a very well done building. And it's a building that a lot of us know really well. It's also a place of hospitality, which in essence is what Hayes Barton Place will be. In addition to being a home and a residence, it's a place where you're going to entertain and be entertained. And we need to keep that in mind. So a lot of the ways and the functions that a building like this works really come into play with Hayes Barton Place. And finally, the Carolina Inn. When we began looking around at what are buildings that people know, that inspire, that have been a place of hospitality, that are timeless, the Carolina Inn really came to mind. Even though it's in Chapel Hill as a state grad, it pains me to say, but it's a pretty great building, and certainly one that a lot of us have been in before. It was designed by a man named Arthur Cleveland Nash, though. And Arthur Nash was a very interesting person because he wasn't from here, but he worked for McKim, Mead & White Architects in New York City. Anybody who's a student of architecture knows McKim, Mead & White were really sort of the grandparent architects of many of the firms in the New York area and really across the East Coast for many decades. They were around predominantly between the late 1880s through the early to middle part of the 20th century. And they're responsible for a lot of the great clubhouse design and hospitality design and grand homes that you see up and down the East Coast. A lot of the Hamptons, houses and Shinnecock Hills Golf Course and those types of things were done by McKim, Mead & White. So we are sort of the recipient of that history in the Raleigh and Triangle area, and we tried to sort of draw a little bit of a thread to what they had done in places like the Carolina Inn. So Arthur Nash moved down here to oversee the Carolina Inn for John Sprunt Hill. In 1924 it was completed, and then Mr. Hill gave it to the university soon after completion. And then Mr. Nash stayed in the Triangle and did a number of buildings around Durham and Raleigh area over the years. And so this is the direction we've been headed in for the architecture here. We try to be very thoughtful about how it's evolved, and you pick up elements of some of the buildings I spoke about earlier in the building. But what I would point out is a few things. We tried to bring the scale of this down with the dormers on the front so it feels a little bit more like a hospitality place. There's a generous portico and front entrance when you come up to the building. As you arrive, the porte cochere is going to give you a sense of arrival and grandeur to a point. But also things like the balconies are done in such a way that they're not ad hoc. It's been very thoughtful in the way we tried to place elements of the architecture around the building, so that when you get there, it's somewhat timeless, and we hope very timeless, and that as this thing evolves and gets built, that it'll be a place you can all be proud to call home, because that is truly what it is. So this is a computer rendering stuck into an actual aerial. I don't know how they do this, but they do it, and it looks pretty good. I would not take credit for this. Andrew Jameson is our project manager and lead architect on the project that I've been working with, and Andrew's in the back of the room and is really the brainchild behind a lot of this imagery. But to orient you really quickly, on this image, you can see, of course, Oberlin going past here in the foreground. There's the middle school next door. Of course, North Hills in the far background over here. The new entrance road that we'll be putting in is in this location. It's not one of the current roads that's in that area. We're going to basically redo, we and Gordon Grubb and the Grubb Development Company and the Williams family will be redoing all the roads and infrastructure in that existing area that's about 25 acres. And this will be the new road, which will align with the road directly across the street. You see the healthcare building in the foreground, and of course the independent living building right there. So to orient you to the building itself, and I'll come back to some of the specific spaces a little bit later, but it's this H configuration. The healthcare building is here along Oberlin Road, and the main entrance, if you come in off of Oberlin along this new road, and there's a grand entrance court here at the front that Frank Liggett will tell you a bit about shortly. arrive and enter into this main lobby space. And then the purple are residences along one wing over here. And there are more residences as you go up into the building. And then turning left is the amenity side of the building, where all the dining venues are located here, and the spa fitness areas in here, and then a number of the other amenities that I'll come back to sprinkled throughout. Well, let's talk about those for just a moment. We have, again, the main bar here that I'll be describing in a moment that is on axis with that main hallway looking out into this courtyard. The main dining room here, that'll be white tablecloth, very nice service area. A more casual grab and go and breakfast, lunch, and dinner place that you can grab a sandwich or a hot meal in a more casual setting here. And then we have an outdoor bar and dining area on this side overlooking the croquet lawn. And then a club room at the very top that is available to be reserved for private parties, birthday parties, events. And that's a very nice space where you could host a dinner party or a birthday party for your grandchildren or your spouse if you'd like to do that. On the fitness wing down here, we have the big indoor pool at the end with all the wet spaces, locker rooms, storage, and the fitness center director that's located there. Fitness center room there with treadmills and stationary bicycles, all that type of thing. A group activity room here where they'll do aerobics and stretching and different types of activities, and a hair salon and spa there where they do manicures, pedicures, hair, etc. In that area. We also have a movie room located right here that will have soft seating in it, and they'll have various shows in the evening and afternoon hours as we go through that. The front here is mainly business offices and the sales office teams at that front area. So the interiors, we've taken a similar amount of time about the interiors to try to make them timeless and elegant, but also a place that you want to be. You can make these too stiff, obviously, but the residents here, as residents, you'll spend a lot of time in this facility, so it needs to feel very comfortable, but also a place that you can be proud to bring your guests and loved ones into. And so we've tried to strike that balance with the interiors. This is a close-up of that living room and the main entrance space when you enter the building. So you would come in from that porte cochere in the front here through the vestibule, and then this blue triangle is just showing you which way the view is on the next image that I'm going to show you. We have a concierge and a receptionist desk in that area, and the foyer is really where you get oriented to the overall building, with the residence wings to the right, the amenities center and dining over to your left, and then this sort of grand view through into the interior courtyard where we have different activities that we'll talk about in a moment. Lots of natural light and glass, and this also serves as kind of a staging area or a sitting room prior to an event. The multi-purpose room is here on the right, and in that multi-purpose room, which would be a room a little bit like this, perhaps a little bit different configuration, but maybe slightly larger, a room where you could have a concert, you could have a piano recital, you could have a lecture. I know at the other facilities there are frequently authors that come in to give readings or book signings, that type of thing. So lots of programmed activities in that multi-purpose room. And then a library, a little bit of a quieter area on the side with a business center that'll have computers and a workstation if you need a spot to get away from your residence into a little nook of the library. And so this is what that begins to look like. This is hot off the presses, so you're among the first to see this image, but we're working through our interior design package right now, and this is the direction that we're heading in. Trying to make it timeless, a focus on art, a focus on making it light and natural and airy, and then really getting a big sense of the view into that interior courtyard, trying to draw the outside in to the building. Then another view taken from the right-hand side of the foyer, looking into that space. So you get another view. We've raised the ceilings in that in the central space, so we have 20-foot tall ceilings and a great view looking down toward the bar and the dining facility in the background along that axis there. some more interior design precedents for that bar and lounge and dining facilities. Again, trying to create something that is not trendy but timeless, and something that is also comfortable where you'd like to be. The image on the far right is a project that we completed a couple of years ago at the Carolina Yacht Club in Charleston, which has a lot of that feel in it, that is a very intimate setting that people enjoy being in. And that's what we're trying to head toward with the design of these dining facilities. So the view looking down that corridor there into the bar, again, the bar is fairly large, and that's one of the lessons learned that I've heard about time and again from my in-laws, that the bar is too small at Carolina Bay. So we've heard loud and clear, the bar has got to be really good. So we're going to have a really good bar at Hayes Barton Place. And that's what this is going to look like. Again, these are in progress, but we're trying to create something that is very special for Hayes Barton Place. This is, I'm really excited about the direction this thing is taking. We're looking at lots of warm woods, make it a comfortable area, but also a place that isn't like a typical bar. Some of the things that are unique about this is you'll notice in the background, you don't see a back bar full of liquor bottles and TVs and junk. You see a big window that is looking out into the activity courtyard in this great space that Frank Liggett's group is designing that'll have trees in it and natural light, and so you get a little bit of a different feel inside of this bar. Another thing is we've incorporated a slightly lower bar than a typical bar at a restaurant, and that makes it easier to sit and get in and out of the chairs, so that you really have a little bit more intimate feel, but also it's just a very practical way to make it more comfortable for people to get in and out of. And to do that, we actually recessed the back of the bar, so the bartender goes down a couple of steps, and they'll sit down so they can look at eye level with you as they're serving you. It makes it for a more intimate experience, and it's just a little detail that we picked up from doing these things so many times, and it's been pretty successful for us. Let's see, moving forward. Another view of the bar, looking from that side in, so you get, again, a little better sense of the scale of the space and the variety of seating options there. And then these doors here will lead you outside to the courtyard, which I'm going to ask Frank Liggett to come up now and speak about as he talks about outdoor space and how we've integrated that at Hayes Barton Place. Frank?
Thank you, Chris. I have to say up front, this is the first time I've ever presented with my parents here, so I might be a little bit more nervous than normal. But I am Frank Liggett. I grew up in Raleigh, in this neighborhood, Hayes Barton and Budley. And just the overall thoughts about the landscape are that we want to make, just like the building, we want to make this feel like it's been here, like it fits in, like it's comfortable. Plants that everyone knows and is used to. It just has a sort of a comfort and a cozy feeling, but also beautiful and striking. We're talking about fragrance at different times of year, color, seasonal change. And so we're still working on that, obviously, but those are the things that are kind of guiding our thoughts as we work through this. I'll also mention that I'm working really closely with Withers Ravenel on this. They have a great team of landscape architects and engineers, so it is not just me. It's a group of people involved in this. But just to kind of do a once-over of this rendered site plan, as Chris mentioned, this is Oberlin out here, and this is a new entrance road and the main entrance to the building here. So this is a sort of a roundabout covered drop-off zone there with a fountain on axis with the front door, and that'll be a round circular fountain, sort of a grand fountain with the white noise that fountains create, and sort of a cooling aspect to the fountain as well. So we feel like that's a really nice entrance touch right there. So this is the main entrance that Chris was just talking about with the hallway going each way, and that space he was showing images of is here. And this we're calling the main courtyard. So this is right off of that main sort of lobby area. Over here is what is called the activity courtyard. And I'm going to show you guys an enlargement of each one of those and talk through those just a touch. So this is the main courtyard. Again, the front door is down here, and you walk right out into this space. This is a a croquet lawn. It's sized to be regulation croquet size. And we have lined with some trees. Our thought is that this could be used for croquet matches, or for just sitting out on the lawn, put some chairs out there, or just enjoying the green aspect of that as the kind of the central feature of that entrance. And on the far end of here is a multi-purpose space, and a little inspiration image is down here in the lower right. We're seeing the fact that people could be up here watching croquet matches down here, or you might be seated on the lawn watching a concert up on the covered space there. Maybe there's a fireplace in there, a nice place to sit. We also have, all of the bar, grill, dining room areas that Chris was just talking about are over here. So this is really well connected to this space. On the left over here is, these are raised planters with some flowering trees and shrubs and some outdoor seating areas for again, connected to the bar and the grill and the dining areas. And on the right, excuse me, we're seeing these as more of a garden walk. So this is an opportunity for feeling like you're walking through a garden. And this image here sort of starts to get at that maybe this is a place where we can really have some fun with plants and color and fragrance. And so this is more of a garden walk, and this is more of a connected to the amenity space there. The inspiration image is on the right. This fireplace sort of connects to what might be here. This second image, bluestone and brick, again, is sort of a timeless Budley, Hayes Barton. I'm sure most of you are used to seeing that in your houses or friends' houses or in the neighborhood for certain. So we intend to continue those materials in the outdoor spaces here. We want to trying to create spaces that could be for just small groups of people, 2 people to sit and enjoy a cup of coffee or a glass of wine, and other larger spaces where you might be sitting with 50 to 100 people watching a concert. So the space needs to function on several levels there. So that's the main courtyard, and which again is right up here. And now I'm going to talk about the activity courtyard. And again, I'll point out that, as Chris noted, that all this is sort of the grill, bar, amenity area. So these 2 outdoor terraces connect that very nicely. So on the left is the enlargement of the amenity area. And just to quickly go through these spaces there, we have a putting green here, bocce court, shuffleboard set up here, maybe an outdoor fire pit. And this is covered seating for the bar. The pool, indoor pool again, is here. So we have a little grill set up here, and then this fountain here and another wall fountain here. What we're seeing these as is similar to what's going on in the top right. If you remember, when you walk into the lobby, you look down this hallway into the bar, which is right here. So the glass behind the bar on the image that Chris showed, you'd be looking out into this fountain and into a brick wall with maybe a wall-mounted fountain there. So trying to continue with that same sort of feel, that brick, bluestone kind of thing. And this is the inspiration image for the putting green and bocce court here, shuffleboard, that sort of thing. This is just the feel we're going for. Brick, bluestone, boxwoods, fig vine, things that we see all over this neighborhood. There's also a sports court here, and that is sized for pickleball, and also will work for a half-court basketball goal. You can see that this wall I mentioned here sort of separates this from this more outdoor. This might be an exercise area coming from the pool. There might be people grilling, seating out here. So we're trying to give a little bit of separation from the sports court to the rest of the place, but we don't want to make it feel like the goal is to make this feel very garden-like. So there's a lot of elements in here, as you can see, but we're trying to make it have this feel that it's still inviting and a place you would like to be. It'd be nice, I think, to be out here, watch your friends on the putting green or on the shuffleboard court. And as we walk down this path down here, we get to this space here is a community garden, raised beds that could be used for vegetables, cut flowers, whatever anyone wants to do there. We're going to get good sun right here, and we're thinking of maybe a pierced brick wall around that. So in the wintertime, when those gardens don't look their best, you have a beautiful brick pierced wall, maybe something similar to this in front of that. We also have a brick wall along the sidewalk here. Again, Oberlin's over here, and this is the main road that gets you into the front door. So we're thinking of a brick wall here that helps create this as a separate little space that's going to be nice for maybe a place to bring your dog, maybe sit out on the lawn and have a picnic or read a book or whatever. So this is sort of not a designated courtyard per se, but I think this is still a very nice, usable, functional space.